All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today we're breaking down the absolutely crucial differences between Windows 10 and Windows 11. Look, whether you're staring at that dreaded update prompt right now, or you're maybe planning to buy a brand new PC, we're going to look at the hard data to help you make a genuinely informed choice on whether to upgrade or stay put. Right out of the gate, you can literally see the stark visual divide between the two. On one hand, you've got that traditional left-aligned workspace we've all been using for, years now? But then you contrast that with Windows 11's centered, almost macOS-inspired redesign. It's much cleaner, it's got those rounded corners, and honestly, it just immediately sets a totally different tone for your daily workflow. So before we get totally lost in the technical specs and all those under-the-hood benchmarks, the real ultimate question you've got to ask yourself is this. Do you value the comfort of absolute familiarity, or are you itching for the cutting-edge benefits of modernization? Because that philosophical choice, that really drives the whole Windows 10 versus 11 debate. So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to quickly cover the design overhaul, then performance and hardware limits, move into gaming and multitasking, talk about security in the App Store, and finally, help you make your choice. All right, starting off with Section 1, the design overhaul. When you actually look at them side by side, the different design philosophies are super obvious. Windows 10 relies on those sharp window corners and classic legacy panels. It's heavily focused on familiarity. But Windows 11? It basically throws a lot of that out. It brings in these fluid, modern animations, a simplified start menu, way better touch support, and those transparent visual effects that just create this remarkably minimalist vibe. The really crucial takeaway here is that Microsoft actively chose to trade the highly customizable interface of Windows 10 for a much more rigid but undeniably cleaner workspace in Windows 11. Like, Windows 10 gave you a massive amount of customization, but sometimes at the cost of a dense, kind of cluttered look. Windows 11 forces a minimal design. You get fewer layout options, sure, but it's a way more streamlined daily experience. And with Windows 10, we're officially waving goodbye to the era of live tiles. I know a lot of users really relied on those big dynamic blocks for real-time weather and news, without even having to open an app. But in the huge push for modernization, Microsoft basically decided that layout was just a bit too busy. So the replacement is this dramatically simplified, search-focused grid. It's cleanly split right down the middle, top and bottom. You've got your pinned apps up at the top and these smart recommended documents at the bottom. It's all about getting you straight to your most used software and recent files with absolutely zero distractions. Moving right along to Section 2, performance and hardware limits. Now, before we get too excited about the sleek new look and all those slick animations, the harsh reality for a lot of users comes down to one very simple question about their computer's actual hardware. Can your PC even run Windows 11? Because unlike previous upgrades, Microsoft has drawn a surprisingly strict line in the sand here. If you've ever run the PC Health Check app, you might have already hit this wall. Windows 11 explicitly demands a security chip called TPM 2.0, secure boot capability, UEFI firmware, and significantly newer CPUs. While Windows 10 is perfectly happy running on older BIOS systems and legacy processors, Windows 11 essentially creates this massive hardware bottleneck that officially leaves older PCs in the dust. So why does this actually matter? It all comes down to optimization. See, Windows 10 performs exceptionally well on older hardware, especially if your system is still rocking a traditional hard disk drive and an older CPU. Windows 11, on the flip side, is heavily optimized for modern solid-state drives, newer hybrid processors from Intel and AMD, and high-end gaming rigs. In fact, if you try to somehow force Windows 11 onto unsupported hardware, it can actually perform noticeably worse than Windows 10.
Let's pivot to Section 3, gaming and multitasking.
Now, don't get me wrong, Windows 10 is still an absolute powerhouse for gaming. It's got DirectX 12 and solid VR support. But Windows 11, it really pushes the boundaries. It brings in built-in auto HDR, which literally automatically upgrades the lighting and color in supported games without you having to mess with a single setting. Plus, deeper Xbox app integration, and most importantly, incredibly fast game loading through a completely new tech called Direct Storage. To understand why that's a game changer, think about how it used to work. Traditionally, game data had to travel this super long road from your storage drive over to the RAM, then it gets decompressed by your CPU before finally making its way to your graphics card. It was a huge bottleneck. Direct Storage basically says, scratch that, and bypasses the CPU almost entirely. It lets games load compressed assets from your super fast NVMe drive straight into the GPU. The result? Near instant load times.
And if you're a heavy multitasker, someone with a million windows open at once, Snap Layouts is going to be your new best friend. You just hover over a Windows Maximize button, and it brings up this clean, predefined grid, letting you instantly snap and organize your screen. It honestly makes managing multiple monitors and virtual desktops just drastically easier than the basic Snap Assist we had back in Windows 10.
All right, Section 4, Security and the App Store. Remember all those super strict hardware requirements we talked about a minute ago, like that TPM 2.0 chip? Well, they exist precisely to enable these crazy advanced security shields. Windows 11 uses virtualization-based security and hypervisor-protected code integrity. Okay, what does that alphabet soup actually mean in plain English? It means Windows 11 protects your system at a fundamental hardware level against modern threats. We're talking firmware attacks, rootkits, credential theft, and advanced ransomware. It's a massive step up from the standard Windows Defender in Windows 10. Oh, and alongside all this, Windows 11 also brings a completely redesigned, much faster Microsoft Store.
And finally, Section 5, Making Your Choice.
So let's bring it all together. The decision really just boils down to this. You should definitely stick with Windows 10 if you rely on legacy hardware, older specific applications, that ancient office printer that barely works, or if you simply don't have a TPM 2.0 chip in your machine. It's a stable, totally familiar home. But you should make the leap to Windows 11 if you've got a modern SSD-based PC, you want that elite hardware-level security, you plan to take advantage of advanced gaming tools like direct storage, and you just want to guarantee long-term support for your machine. And that brings us to our final thought for this explainer. Look, Windows 11 is officially the future platform for Microsoft. All their massive new AI integrations like Copilot, AI-powered search, and all those long-term security updates, they are exclusively focused on Windows 11. Once Windows 10 eventually loses its free security updates, the risks are only going to go up. So the question you really need to ask yourself isn't just about whether you prefer sharp corners or rounded ones today, it's about how ready you are to safely navigate the rapidly changing computing landscape of tomorrow.